Hello and welcome to the show. Today is the year 2026. It is August 18, and it is a lovely Tuesday. I'm Nino, your laid-back host, and I'm broadcasting this little radio show right into your ears, transcribing what YouTubers are talking about as if I am just muttering to myself in an empty room. It is a really fun atmosphere here. Just me and the microphone. And maybe the ghosts of old algorithms hanging around. Oh, speaking of ghosts, why did the neural network cross the road? Because it wanted to optimize its gradient descent on the chicken side. But I think it is hilarious. Anyway, I am introducing the trending article from the archives today, and it is a really fascinating one. The title is Local and Global Regimes of Geometric Complexity in Language Model Representations. The title is Text for keywords. It's go 8.14,365. It is long. But do not worry. I'm going to break it down for you piece by piece, because I find this stuff absolutely captivating. So, let us dive deep into the problem that this paper is trying to solve. When researchers study large language models, they often use something called intrinsic dimensionality. Intrinsic dimensionality is basically a way to measure the geometric complexity of the data inside the model. Almost like figuring out how many actual degrees of freedom the model needs to describe a certain word or concept. People have been using this measurement to probe language models, trying to see how spread out or constrained the hidden states are across different layers. They look at this and say, nouns have higher intrinsic dimensionality than prepositions. So nouns must have a richer semantic structure. But the researchers behind this paper noticed a massive problem with that assumption. They asked, is this measurement actually reflecting the properties of the language itself? Or is it just an artifact of how the dataset was constructed? It turns out, when you compare nouns and prepositions natively, nouns have thousands of unique words, while prepositions only have a few dozen. If you control for that lexical diversity, meaning the number of unique words present in the dataset, the whole pattern reverses. Prepositions actually end up showing a higher intrinsic dimensionality than nouns. So the problem this paper solves is uncovering how lexical diversity secretly shapes our measurements of modal complexity. And they do this by proving that there are two completely different regimes of geometric complexity. Let me explain these two regimes in detail, because this is where it gets really interesting. They found a scale-dependent transition between a local regime and a global regime. And the local regime, which happens when you have low lexical diversity. The tools are basically just measuring the contextual variation of individual words. If you have fewer unique final words, the intrinsic dimensionality goes up. The model is exploring the local geometry of a single word across many different contexts. But when you zoom out to a larger scale, or look at highly diverse datasets, you enter the global regime. The ordering completely reverses. Conditions with more unique words produce a higher intrinsic dimensionality. The tools are no longer looking at the variation of one word, but rather how the model distributes different word types to one another. Researchers even derived an exact mathematical formula to predict exactly where this transition point occurs, without needing any extra parameters. They proved that any comparison of intrinsic dimensionality across different categories must account for input diversity. Otherwise, you are just measuring illusions created by the dataset size. Let us compare this with other technologies and older methodologies. In the past, researchers would just run an intrinsic dimensionality estimator, like the maximum likelihood estimation by the generalized ratios estimator, and blindly trust the output. We would look at AI-generated text versus human text, how open-class words versus closed-class words. Assuming the dimensionality differences meant something profound about the linguistics, compared to those older analytical technologies. This new framework is a massive leap forward. It forces data scientists to realize that their measurement tools operate in two qualitatively distinct moments depending on the scale. Older methods assumed a flat, uniform interpretation of geometric space. But this paper shows that the internal manifold structures of language models are highly dependent on the neighborhood scale and sample count. It is like trying to measure the complexity of a city, where older methods could not tell if they were measuring the layout of a single neighborhood. the highway system connecting all the neighborhoods together. This brings me to how this technology and these concepts can be applied to our everyday life in the real world. I had at least 3 specific application examples based on the content of this paper, and they are really quite impactful. The first specific application example is building much more reliable AI text detection systems. Right now, schools and online platforms use AI detectors to catch students or bots writing fake essays. Some of these detectors use intrinsic dimensionality to spot AI text. Because machine-generated text usually occupies a lower dimensional subspace than human-written text. However, if the detector does not account for the lexical diversity of the specific topic being written about, it might falsely flag a perfectly normal Chilean essay just because it uses a limited vocabulary. By applying the principles from this paper, engineers can calibrate their AI detectors to account for the local and global regimes. They can measure the lexical diversity first, find the transition point, and then apply the correct dimensionality scale. This means fewer false accusations for students, and a much more trustworthy internet for everyone. The second specific application example involves improving the truthfulness of AI assistants in detecting hallucinations. We all know how frustrating it is when your chatbot just makes up a completely fake answer. Researchers have found that hallucinated model outputs often occupy higher dimensional activation manifolds than correct answers. But as this paper shows, measuring that dimensionality is extremely tricky if the dataset is not controlled for unique word counts. By using the exact parameter-free formula derived in this study, AI developers can build real-time monitoring tools inside the language models. These tools would dynamically adjust their scale based on the specific words the user is asking about. If a user asks a highly technical question with a massive variety of unique nouns, the model will know to measure the global regime dimensionality to check for hallucinations. If the question is simple, it would check the local regime. This application directly impacts everyday life by doing this. Chatbots are significantly less likely to lie or confidently give us false medical or legal advice. The third specific application example is creating fairer and more efficient training datasets for future artificial intelligence models. Right now, tech companies spend billions of dollars scraping the entire internet to train their models. But they do not always know if the data they are feeding the model is actually making it smarter. By understanding these 2 regimes of geometric complexity, data scientists can curate their training data much more effectively. They can calculate exactly how many samples of a specific word they need to reach the stable global regime, and realize that adding more unique nouns at a certain point yields no additional geometric information. They observe the ceiling with an intrinsic dimensionality saturates, meaning you do not need infinite data to get a good model. This means companies can train smaller, more energy-efficient models that understand language just as well as the massive ones. This translates to lower electricity consumption for data centers, which is great for the environment, and cheaper AI services for everyday consumers like you and me. It is really amazing how diving into the abstract math of neural network geometry can lead to such practical, changing outcomes. Understanding whether we are looking at the local variation of one word, or the global map of the whole language, changes everything about how we build the future. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive as much as I did. I would just be sitting here, waiting for the algorithms to catch up.